All right. Live stream is up. I'm going to wait a little bit while people are kind of filing in. And as that's happening, I'll tell you a little bit about what this stream is going to be about. This is going to be about the Hydrasynth Deluxe and patch creation on it. Now, there's some drawbacks to doing a live stream, one of which, of course, is audio quality. We're limited to, I think it's 140 megabits or something. I don't know. Something low, something ridiculously low, or kilobits per second, whatever. Um, in addition to that, I don't know how the stereo is going to play out here. Oftentimes, the stereo spread in these live streams, though it will tell me that it's going out stereo, won't always be stereo. So, periodically, I'm probably going to ask the audience to chime in on that subject and let me know whether or not the stream is actually in stereo or if the stream isn't in stereo. In which case, I'll probably have to tailor the content for that. Hopefully, you can hear this and it's coming out of both speakers. And if I use this knob here, it should be going to the right channel right now and to the left channel right now. So if you're in the chat, you could just let me know how the audio sounds throughout the show. If you feel like things are clipping, if you feel like, the sound isn't right, please let me know, because there's really no way for me to properly monitor what's actually going out to you guys while I'm doing this. So I'm at your whatever. Let's just get into it, okay? So, hey, what's up, everybody in the chat? I see Sentient Sound, Inverted Popes. I'm gonna say that it's not Jaylene. And I'm opening up my phone here. Hold on. Janine, right? Hopefully I got that right. So, hey everybody, and I'm looking forward to this. So, let's start off with some basic concepts here. Okay, so what you're seeing right now is a top-down view of the Deluxe, and what you don't see out of view is the balance control and the multi upper and lower buttons. You're not going to see those, and you're not going to see like the random button. That's about all that you're really going to be missing out on with this view, but it brings it up close enough to where hopefully you can see what I'm actually doing. So first off, when it's green, that means it's in the lower, and when it's yellow, that means it's in the upper, and then when it's orange, that means that I'm on the multi, okay? And I'll try to remind everybody what I'm doing as I do it. Now, these colors can be set to whatever you want. Usually you'll see in videos that the lower is blue, but I like green. Green's my favorite color, so that's what I use. I'm picking yellow just because it's easily differentiated on the screen here. So the first thing I have here is, this is a patch that I created for the Hydrasynth 49 key and desktop, and it is, if I pan to one side here, you'll hear it just coming out of the left. It's essentially a recreation of a Prophet 5 Rev 4 patch. And this version of it, I've kind of tweaked it a little bit so that it's not quite as similar to the actual Prophet 5. I'll play that for a second. So that's the actual Prophet 5 over there, and then of course. Now, what I've done here is I've put it on both the upper and lower layer. And I haven't done a whole heck of a lot here. What I have done is I've panned one, like the lower side is going all left and the upper is going all right. And then I also changed the filter of the upper to be filter number 2, which is a Oberheim SEM style filter. And set it up kind of similarly and set some of the same controls up for it that was on the previous patch. That way, the patches are extremely similar, but subtle differences between them, so that when you play them in stereo, synthesizer is loud enough for you and not clipping or anything like that. But you'll notice that I'm getting some differences there. So another nice feature that I like to do is, essentially, this is sort of like creating a binaural patch. I watched a video recently that was about binaural patches using other synthesizers that are not, specifically binaural. I don't fully agree with that, in that, to me, when I use like the binaural oscillators that I have in my Eurorack, they do something a little bit more specific, where they'll send some harmonics to the left channel, some harmonics to the right channel. It's not just about stereo. This is more technically stereo, although you can do closer to traditional binaural by carefully selecting which oscillator wave shapes you use and that sort of thing. But I'm nitpicking a bit, admittedly. So in the lower side here, if I go to my voice menu, you'll notice that I have analog feel and it's at 37. And if I switch that to upper, that's also 37. Now this is going to be somewhat random between both layers, right? So the analog feel is affecting not just the oscillator tracking, but also the VCA level and filter per voice per layer as well. So there's a whole lot of variance going on there. But to increase that a bit more, I'm going to drop the analog feel of the upper layer down a little bit, so it's even further separated from each other, and you're just getting a little bit more variance there. Random phase is already on this patch, and this patch will be available soon anyway, for regular Hydrasynth users as well as Deluxe and Explorer and, desktop. So another thing that I really like doing on here is I'll detune the oscillators upper and lower from them just a hair. So I'm getting even more, differences going on here. So, and the idea is really just that you want to have a difference, but not have it be so big that you're really, really noticing it. You don't want to notice it heavily. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the delay here. So if I just turn the delay up typical here, you see I've got it going in one channel. I'm on the upper. So let's say I take this delay and I set my macro up here. It's going to be at about 50, and the lower, I'm going to bring that up around 60, but I'm also going to change this delay. So instead of having a pan delay there, I'm going to have a reverse delay, and I'll BPM sync it, just so that things are a little bit more controlled and not so crazy. I like to darken it just a bit, and feedback tone is going to come up a bit. So now slow my tempo down a little bit too. I rarely play things at 120 BPM. So now we've got some more changes going on here. And the idea is that now what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow for things to get really kind of trippy between the two different layers. So if I go to multi, I can go into my mod matrix, and because they started out originally the same patch from each other, I'm going to go ahead and I can edit this mod matrix, and it's going to edit those mod destinations for both upper and lower. So if we want to see what I have here, I've got polyphonic aftertouch. It's set to 0 because I have the amount set to a macro control. But here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ribbon, and we'll do ribbon relative, and we'll have it go to delay time. And that's going to increase the delay time. So if so now you can get some interesting movement there. And we're also going to set ribbon relative is going to go to the reverb time. It's going to increase the reverb time, and it's also going to increase reverb amount. These are all things that are just kind of like, they're like really basic little things that you can do, but they're so fun once you start playing it. So I still have that pitch on there as well. What's up, Trader? So if I want, I can go to the ribbon and I can change this to mod only. And while it's orange, it's going to affect that on both layers. So now I'm just controlling those effects with the ribbon. Really fun stuff to do there. And let's go ahead and go to our lower layer, and I'm going to use an LFO, and I like to use this. So what I have here is LFO 5 is actually modulating LFO 4, and it's using this kind of randomness to vary the speed of LFO 4 to let it be kind of pseudo-random on whatever it modulates. And what I'm going to do there is use that to modulate a little bit of that stereo panning. So LFO 4 to mixer, that's just pressing one button to another button and you set that destination. It's really easy to use like that. And then I'm going to go to oscillator 1 pan, and just a little bit, not a lot. So 28 should be good. And on upper, I'm going to do kind of the same thing, but I'm going to send it the opposite way. And let's look at some of these macros that I have set up here. Now, I have a delay mod already set up. So if I increase this, now that was originally set up, designed basically to, to modulate a pan delay, which is more subtle than the reverse delay. So as I increase this on both of these, I can get kind of craziness happening here. So if one part is set to Theremin mode, just to answer the question in the chat here, if one part is set to Theremin mode, you can decide what you want to do with that. So if I go in here, let's say I go to my multi settings here, I'm going to press the multi button and then press it again. I have my sustain pedal, my ribbon, pitch bend, and mod wheel. And I can set this to say upper. And if I go upper here, let's go to my ribbon, upper ribbon, and then I would turn this to Theremin. So now it's just that layer. Now if I go into the multi here and I set it to both, let's see here. So now if it's on both, you're only hearing the Theremin right now because it's triggering that Theremin, but if I play, you're getting the effect and the Theremin. So you can do some really versatile patching with that, especially if you want to play like a lead line with your Theremin side, or whatever you want to do here. Let's go ahead and let's get back to mod only, and I think I already set that back to both. Yeah. Okay, so let's make this really ridiculous, all right? One really absurd fun thing to do is, so right now in this patch, I have oscillator 3 is already up, okay? And if I want to solo it, I can press the solo on button, and let's just hear just that layer, right? So we hear that, and it's all typical, it's normal, it's whatever, right? Let's make this ridiculous. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that oscillator down so that we're not going to hear it, all right? And this is all being done kind of in a patch that's already set up. So normally you would want to set this kind of thing up as you're going. But what I want to do is I want to make this its own melody inside of a patch that's going left and right. So I'm going to go to LFO 2. I'm going to turn this to step. I'm going to set the BPM, let's say 16th notes. That might be too fast. I don't know. We're going to find out. And then we're going to go to semi-lock, turn that on. Semi-lock allows us to pitch by semitones in the step LFO, which essentially is turning this into a step sequencer. Now I'm going to, I'll input some notes. So I'm just going to press each step and then press a key to go with it so I know what key it is. So here... And then we'll do... Yeah, that should be good. All right, so we have these steps in here. I'm going to hit exit. Now, LFO2 is going to go to oscillator 3, and I'm setting the pitch to 0. All right, it's not going to be fully modulated just yet, and I'm actually going to get rid of one of my macros. Or actually, you know what? I don't even need to do that. I can do something. Yeah, I'll get rid of the phaser macro actually, because I can. Or maybe I'll leave it, and what I'll do is this. Which was that? That was, so that source destination is 10. Okay, so my mod matrix, I'm gonna go to phaser here, mod matrix 10. Okay, the button value is gonna go to 128 on this. All right, so now if I'm smart, I'll finish making this patch. So we'll go to polyphonic aftertouch, all right, and then we will touch mixer, oscillator volume 3. That's going to go all the way up and exit out of there. So now when I press the polyphonic aftertouch, I'm going to be bringing up that third oscillator of the upper layer, okay? And if I turn on this button here, that's going to enable the pitch modulation of it as well. So let's bring this back to the center. I think we're going to raise this this step sequence up a little bit because I kind of played it. I played it low. So let's just go here. Yeah, let's try that. Now, here's what gets interesting about this, right? So right now I just have polyphonic aftertouches bringing that up, and I've got that one oscillator kind of has its own sequencer going, but the problem with that is it's not really true sequencing if you're just leaving it open, right? You want to do something cool with that. So let's do something cool with that. If I go into that mixer, you'll see that I have it set all the way to filter 1. I'm going to change that, and you can hear my dogs going nuts above my head. Sorry about that. I'm going to change that to filter 2. All right, so let's go to filter 2 here, and we are going to morph this like so. Bring it here. We'll keep it pretty low. Give it a good bit of resonance. Let me make sure that this is in parallel. All right. And let's decide. It looks like I've got a lot of unused LFOs in this patch. So we'll use envelope 3. Okay. Envelope 3 is going to go to filter 2. Those dogs are going nuts up there. I have a new puppy, and they're border collies, and they like to play a lot. So, yeah. This is a dog household. All right, so this is where things get really cool. I'm setting up the curves here. I'm making it kind of plucky, and no sustain on it. A little bit of release, decay. I'm just kind of eyeballing it as it were right now, and I've set on the mod matrix for destination 11. It has again 0. So what we can do is envelope 3, we will go to our trigger sources. The trigger sources, not only can you do your keyboard, which is note on, but then you can additionally trigger from other sources. So in that, I'm going to be triggering from the LFO, which, what was it? 2, right? All right, so envelope 3. LFO 2 is triggering it now. So that's going to cause envelope 3 to constantly be plucking as each step progresses on that little step sequencer LFO thingy, right? And then we can dictate how much of that we want. So let's go into that macro for phaser, and we'll do mod, and that's going to be, what was that? Was it 12? And we'll bring this up to, what, like 30, something like that? Was it 12? Let me double check. Yeah, it was 12. Look at that. My memory's working today. So now, and let's take the filter tracking to about 50 on that. And I'm actually gonna bring, yeah, let's listen to that for a second. We'll go into the macro, and we can kind of play with this. And let's play with that oscillator's pitch. Let's drop it down a bit. So now we've got like this whole other pattern that can just be flown in at the touch of a button. If I turn this button off, that goes away, right? And if I go back to the multi, I have that button is still available here. So I can actually bring up the phaser on the low end and the upper without bringing that in. But if I press the button, and let's just, because like I'm just ridiculous in this way, I'm going to actually pan that to the left, and then the lower one I'm going to pan to the right. So now I'm kind of crossing each other. And then I will pan that with an LFO, because this is what happens in the world, We do these things. We do these things. They can't be stopped. They can't be controlled. So now we're going to pan this, and we'll use unipolar. So when you see the LFO 1 plus, that means it's unipolar. And let's go ahead and set this to trigger sync is off, and a triangle wave, and we'll slow it down a bit. Of course, you could make splits where, you don't have to do all this, and you could just have like a lower layer doing like your melody or whatever, but isn't this more like ridiculous? It is fun to do ridiculous things with your synthesizer. So go ahead and let's go back to that lower, give it more feedback on that. Yeah, really cool. So that's just like one of the fun little tricks that I like to employ on this thing. And then to save a patch, just double tap save, and You know, I'm still saving it as an init because I'll probably save it into a different bank later after the stream. So that's just some weirdness that you can get into on patches that are, you know, again, I pulled that from a single patch from another bank, you know. So the process of that would be like if I start from an initialized patch, right? I press lower, browse, and then I could just browse into whatever patch I want. And let's say I want, we'll do something like Darkness by Aquila Rift. And then on the upper, let's go ahead and go to maybe something with an ARP, right? That would make sense. So off screen, I'm controlling the balance of left and right. And if let's say maybe I wanted a different ARP there, so I could use this one. I actually really like this one. And that's all just, you know, blending individual patches without really, you know, thinking about it. You know, I'm just grabbing stuff kind of pseudo at random. I mean, I know the patches because, you know, we've been in sound design for a while, and certain patches just kind of stand out to me as like, ooh, I really like using that. I really like using this. So let's start over, all the way over, just really quickly. I'm gonna show something super fast. Let's go. Yeah, we'll just start here. So what we'll do is we'll start in the lower, and I'm gonna do a basic bass patch down low, and then I'll do like an EP up top, and I'll show you just how quickly you can kind of come up with something brand new, fresh, and not have to fight with things. So the first thing I would do is I would hit the multi button, and I'm going to do a key split. So I have my key split here. I can set my balance control to the center. Now, if you want to crossfade, you can crossfade it like so. But for now, we're going to keep a hard key split. And let's go ahead. Lower filter. I'm going to use the Thriller because it's, you know, super bass heavy and just, you know, it'll really... So yeah, I like to bring it down right around here, and I like to keep my key tracking kind of low for my bass stuff. I like to keep things dark. Envelope. This is going to be like really kind of the most basic and easy of bass patches. I'm going to make it not so exponential. Let's take this back a bit. And voice, we'll set this one to mono, okay? And we will give it some warm mode, why not? Sometimes you don't want to use warm mode when doing a bass patch because it can actually be too much. If you really throw the warm mode at it, plus the Thriller filter and all that kind of thing, it really just kind of you'll have so much bass that it's then in the mix you're really trying to just kind of control things. So be careful with the warm mode. You don't really need it that much, to be honest with you. It's honestly really yeah, it's just not really needed when you program correctly. Snap mode I'm turning off. The reason why is just because honestly, like those bass envelopes don't need to be that snappy. And when I say snappy, I'm talking about like when you have snap on, you're in like sub millisecond territory. So again, this is one oscillator here, and what I like doing for these sorts of things is I'll do something like, let's take the sync, bring it up to about 70, so not all the way up, and then drop it down the depth. And now, to really thicken it up, there we are, that drive. And let's do this. So it's already getting like absurdly powerful. I'm going to drop the amp level back a little bit, and in the mixer I'll drop the oscillator down a little bit. The reason why I do that is the filters will drastically change how the resonance reacts with these oscillators and the mixer when you drop their levels back. So if you have them really high, the reaction will be less about just saturation and more like this grit and this hard pushing. But if you drop it back, you'll get the resonance, and you'll get like this kind of saturation with that filter drive in there. For instance, if you use like for instance, I have the Iridium here. The drive in those filters are set, so like you'll set to like saturated or dirty or whatever. But on the Hydrasynth, that's a free flowing knob that you can adjust, right? So you want to really kind of play with that to get the interaction that sounds right to you. Now you can go pre or post. When you go post, it tends to make it a little bit brighter. See? And you hear that saturation is just like. And if I go pre, it's a lot darker sound there. So I'm going to back it off just a hair. Alright, so we're pretty much getting there. Now let's give it a little bit of release. And again, this is just super basic patch here. And up top, let's go to that upper and get started on that one real quick, because we want to have that. We want to really kind of get to where we're going here. So I'm going to attack this from a slightly different perspective when I do this one. So this is going to be, man, you'll see. So the way that I'm doing this one is a little bit funky. I'll use like the Spect A1 is a cool wave to use, and then I will detune it just a bit. And then I have a square wave here, and then the filter is going to be basically the basic ladder filter, not Q compensated, because I don't want a ton of bass from this. I want it to be really low. So I'll do it just like this. And oh, I'm going below my split. Just a little bit of resonance, not a lot. Okay, so I have that. That's going to be just about right. Envelope 3 is going to be really sharp. And this is going to pluck the pitch of this guy. So in the multi here, one thing I want to do is I want to actually drop my upper, oh, I'm in the wrong area here, upper octave down one, okay? Okay, so now it's a little bit more in the realm that we want to be. So I have this really short plucky envelope here that's just, you know, smacking the pitch of this guy just a bit, and we'll actually drop that oscillator down now a bit, and I will use envelope 2 is going to become just a long decay, about 40 seconds with a release of maybe 500, somewhere around there. Also, in the multi, what you can do here is I can set my sustain pedal to just be my upper layer. So that way, make sure I have my sustain pedal accessible to my feet. That way when I'm playing, I can do that kind of stuff, which is really handy. Now, let's go ahead and use envelope 4 is going to be a shorter pluck of about 8 seconds, a little bit of release here, and that's actually going to go to the mixer volume for oscillator 2. And it's also going to go to mixer 4 noise, bring up a little bit of noise. Now this kind of stuff I'll generally tie to a macro so that I can kind of further control it. But that noise, I want darker. Alright, so envelope 4 is going to be a little bit shorter than that. A little bit shorter. The curves are really important on these patches. And then we'll drop that one down. There we go. Alright, so now we're really kind of in that territory. And we'll give it a little bit of chorus. Drop it back to about 40. Depth is going to come up a bit. Rate's going to come down a little bit. Feedback up just a hair. And I offset them. I tend to offset around 45. I don't know why. I just really like it. So it's just really easy to make those splits like that, you know. That way you can just kind of, you know, set up like just a funky patch really quickly and do that sort of thing. Of course, in the mod matrix, for your upper layer, you're probably going to want to do things like, you know, the quick trick again is press LFO5 to jump towards the end there, and then I can get right to my key tracking. And when I go to my key tracking, I'm going to go to my amp decay, and I'm going to drop that back just a bit. Not rocket science, you know, just basic EP stuff. And then also on key tracking, I'll do things like take my filter, and maybe this will go to filter 2, and that'll go to my morph, and drop that back a bit. So it's kind of thinning out that top. Now the reverb, just real quick, because these sorts of sounds, I really like reverb on them. I give them a little bit of pre-delay. I like long reverb times, and then I bring up my dampening. So like a longer reverb time with a higher dampening, and then when I bring that stuff up, it's and then in the multi. Now you could just use the balance control to kind of tilt this so that this is quieter. But you can also do that in the multi where you just drop the decibel of the lower down a good bit. So I'm going to take it down here. And then in the lower, I do kind of want this to be just a little bit darker. And if I want to bring that saturation back, I can drop it back. If I want to bring it forward, I can make it aggressive. Whatever, But yeah, basically it takes like no time to set up something where you're just kind of, able to make these splits and change things around quickly. And if you're, for instance, if you're making it and you're just like, oh man, well I wanted to change that around, you can quickly save the patch, then go into the individual pieces of that patch and then swap them, or you could just go to your octaves and switch things around in there. I mean, you have lots of flexibility with that sort of thing. Just as a more defined and finalized version of something like that, I would say, let's go back this way a bit. If I can remember the name of it, that'd be great. I think I know what it is, if I still have it on here. I've got a lot of initialized patches in here right now because I'm doing some more sound design. So I fill my Hydrasynth up with blank banks while I'm doing that sort of thing. Yeah, we'll go right about here. There it is. So here, in this one, I've set the, the electric keys to the lower side, and the bass lead to the right. And it's got separate controls for everything, And polyphonic aftertouch and all that good stuff. So anyway, I told my wife that I would do this stream super short, and I didn't. I went 44 minutes. Oh no, I did tell her it was going to be 45 minutes. She yelled at me and told me 20, and then I said 30 to compromise, but I actually did 45 because I'm selfish. So I think I'll end the stream. But before I do, I'll ask if you guys have any quick questions. I'll run through the chat here and just let me see if I've missed anything. And if you have any quick questions, I'll answer those as well. And I do appreciate you guys coming and checking out the stream. I wanted to try a new camera setup today, and I have a new lens coming sometime this week, hopefully. So, it'll be cool to see that. Oh, and by the way, Failed Muso, if you're still here, there's the hair. I cut it. It's gone. As far as availability, November is looking like the ship date. I don't know what the actual date that they'll be in the stores is. So November is when they're shipping. And whenever like the boats and whatever methods that they get to the distribution houses happen, that's what it'll be, And yeah, yeah, and it should be pretty. I think it's gonna be pretty close to around the same date for both. Not sure if Explorer will be closely following the Deluxe or not. I'm not sure. Um, so do you get separate poly aftertouch settings on each key split? So that is actually a system setting. What your sensitivity is, as far as when you're in this menu here, you'll see that we've got different velocity curves. So here's all your velocity curves here. So you very soft, soft, medium, hard, very hard, neo soft, neo hard. I like neo hard. Aftertouch curves, there's a whole bunch of curves in there. That's all system wide, right? But on top of that, when you're inside the patches, like I showed earlier in the stream, you can set up macros to dictate how much polyphonic aftertouch you have to specific areas. So that's kind of how I tend to handle that sort of thing. Is I'll dictate how much polyphonic aftertouch I'm sending by using like a macro as a performance control, or just having that in my my mod matrix, and you can back it off or bump it up, whatever you want to do. Um, Note off for both is note off for both engines. So yeah, on the Deluxe and the Explorer, we have note off velocity. That is a physical change to the keybed, so that's not something that will be coming to the Hydrasynth 49. That's specific to these models. Um, Piece in another stream. Curious what machine learning methods. So the filters were basically constructed via a machine learning algorithm that was created by one of the DSP engineers, and literally he coded it from scratch. Like that's just one of his specialties, and so as far as what the method is, I don't know how much I can really get into that as far as it being proprietary and all that, but I can just tell you that, for instance, that thriller filter that I was using earlier on is literally the thriller filter that's behind my head in that rack, and it involved a lot of time, a lot of sampling, a lot of testing and trial and error, and really just kind of nailing things. Um, the method that he used really cut down time, considering what it could have taken. But yeah, it was really great. If you ever get a chance to use a thriller filter, like if you have a Eurorack, I highly recommend it. They're really fun. But one thing you'll notice is that the resonance on those things go like way past where anybody would really want to be. So not only did we model them, but then we kind of further refine them to make them make sense inside of a polyphonic keyboard. Because just because you have a certain you know just because you have a certain filter sound doesn't necessarily mean it works great from a mono to a poly, if you know what I mean. And yeah, as far as being general, yeah, I'm gonna have to be general. I mean, I'm not a DSP engineer, so I can like, if you want me to quote you what the actual DSP algorithms that create these machine learning methods, no, I'm not that guy. I'm a sound designer. Um, but yeah, yeah. So let me just double check in here. But yeah, I think I better end the stream before the wife gets mad, because she's being very kind and cooking dinner and taking care of the kids right now, and yeah. So thank you guys for joining. I'll do another one of these streams soon, especially now that I have my setup set back up again, and it's hopefully looking half decent. I hope you guys can read the screens and whatnot. The buttons, I know, are kind of hard to read like this. I toyed with a lot of different lighting scenarios, and yeah, it can be difficult when you have backlit buttons and I have a white ceiling. So if I put too much light, things kind of. Matter of fact, I'll show you. How about I show you how difficult this can get? So if I bring my lighting up, yeah, you don't really see much on there. So I chose to go with a darker look, to kind of make this a little bit easier for you guys to read, and I hope that it worked. So thank you guys. Have a great night.